Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, and this is Monday Night Raw from Wichita, Kansas, where our main headline is, just keep seeing that anything goes well through a table, but more on that later. So let's start off the top of the show with our first match and just keep blowing that white powder as Paul Ellering returned from an absence of about 2 months to come back just in time to blow that white powder into Uncle Howdy's face. That led to Karrion Kross landing a final prayer to get the win. So the Final Testament and The Miz are the ones as Scarlett took advantage by grabbing Uncle Howdy's legs, which then caused a whole bunch of chaos as Nikki Cross came out of nowhere and spooked Scarlett, so she ran to the other side of the ring, but Nikki caught up to her and jumped right on top of her. But on the other side of the ring, Uncle Howdy was able to put in a mandible claw on The Miz until Ellering blew that sweet stuff into Howdy's face. That led to Cross landing the final prayer. So this was The Miz's first match with the TFT, so they go to 1-0, but the Wyatt 6 are the 2s, and Uncle Howdy looked to have this one in good shape until The Miz came from behind to break up a Sister Abigail, and it went downhill from there. And while I thought the Wyatt 6 would have been a little bit more formidable, the other 3 members really were out of it for quite a long time, so Uncle Howdy did not get any help that he needed after being blinded. So with Uncle Howdy in an 8-man tag for the first time with this group, they are now 0-1. But because we just hate to see such a crazy foreign substance be involved here to determine a match, it gets a not okay. Well, we have to give the WWE some props because after that, it was ladies' night for the WWE, and we had all 3 of the other matches being women's matches. So in the first one, we just keep taking whatever help we can get as Liv Morgan got an unlikely assist from the Pure Fusion Collective that allowed her to land in Oblivion on Dakota Kai to pick up a win. So Liv Morgan is the ones, and maybe she was looking ahead to her match at Saturday night's main event against Io Sky, as Dakota Kai was able to put up a good fight here, but per usual, Liv always finds a way here with the assist to capitalize, and she picks up her 3rd straight win and goes to 9-4 in one-on-one matches. And Dakota is the 2s because even though she had some impressive moves with her coast-to-coast face wash, a stomp, and even intercepted Liv off of the top rope right into a powerbomb, she still could not get it done when PFC just distracted her one too many times, causing her to miss a 2nd face wash, which led to her Oblivion. So she is still winless in one-on-one matches at 0-5. But for some reason, the PFC had it in for Dakota tonight as they all attacked Dakota after the bell, and so all 3 of them will pick up fines. But fortunately for Dakota, the other members of Damage Control came out to save her, including a really nice insane elbow by Kairi Sane from the top rope onto the floor, but that left Io in the ring alone, so Liv finished her off with another Oblivion, and a pretty entertaining segment all around. Unfortunately, it was ruined, but for what it's worth, we'll give it an okay. In our 3rd match, we just keep winging it to win it as Lyra Valkyria broke up Zelina Vega's pinfall attempt after she hit a code red and then hit Ivy with her own finisher, the Nightwing, to advance in the Women's Intercontinental title tournament. So Lyra is the ones, and she had a nice combo early on with a tornado DDT followed by a fisherman suplex, but she was in the right place at the right time to break up that pin and hit the Nightwing. So she goes to 2-2 in multi-person singles matches and has to be the clear favorite in this IC title tournament, as she is 7-6 in all singles matches. But then Zelina is the 2s, and she hit a 6-1-9 early and then the code red late, but it wasn't enough for her as she falls to 0-5 in multi-person singles matches. And for Ivy, she is the threes because she took 2 straight finishers, though she did have a nice double German suplex earlier. Regardless, she is now 0-6 in multi-person singles matches, and this was just fine, but nothing really stood out, so it's getting a not okay. And that leads us back to our main headline in the main event, where we just keep seeing that anything goes well through a table as Rhea Ripley shook off an oblivion just in time to land a riptide through a table to win this anything goes match against Raquel Rodriguez. So Rhea is the ones as she raced up the ramp to attack Raquel before the match had obviously started, and then those two fought all around the arena before finally getting back in the ring to start the match. But even though this was an anything goes match, you still can't fight before the bell, so Rhea has to pick up her 12th fine of the year. But as you would guess, Rhea had to fight off Liv as well, but she did get hit with an oblivion. Fortunately for her, she got a little bit of help from Io Sky, landing both a missile dropkick and a suicide dive on Liv, so she finally got a clear path to land that riptide. So she gets a win in her first match in a little over 2 months and improves to 5-1 in one-on-one matches this year. And Raquel is the twos as she had a couple nice moves throughout the match, including a nice suplex over the announce table and then a power slam onto a bunch of chairs. But maybe her best move was somehow avoiding having her face planted into a chair that was set up in the middle of the ring. Unfortunately for her, she still could not take advantage of Liv's help, and she paid for it when she could not finish off a Tejana bomb and instead was put through the riptide. So she falls to just 1-1 in one-on-one matches. And interestingly, Io grabbed Liv's title belt after the match and was about to raise it into the air when Rhea also grabbed it as the two looked at each other, but we don't really know what happened there because the show was cut off right there at that moment. Well, an anything goes match, of course, is supposed to be chaotic, but still something was just a little off here in this match, so have to give it a not okay. And beyond the mat for Raw, we just keep choosing a triple threat as Finn Balor interrupted Gunther off the top of the show, with Balor sending some friendly fire at Dom, as Balor told Gunther that he gave someone a title shot who didn't deserve it instead of him. But then Gunther said that Balor was the best, but then decided just to be Damian Priest's sidekick. So that prompted the Judgment Day to go up onto the apron when Priest himself came out, and he was able to fight off all 4 members of the Judgment Day for a while. But since he was the one that actually started, he's going to get the 14th fine of the year. But Priest threw Balor into the ring, and after Gunther took care of him, Priest himself went into the ring, where Gunther had no mercy and immediately clotheslined him. So the fight was on, with Balor eventually getting the best of Gunther outside the ring. So with Priest taking on all 3 Judgment Day members inside of the ring, Balor came to their rescue, sadly enough, and took out Priest from behind, which led to Balor finishing Priest off with 3 straight coup de grace in the middle of the ring. But when they got backstage, Pierce came up to the Judgment Day and said that the championship match was being changed from one-on-one to a triple threat to include Damian Priest. And then he also said that next week on Monday Night Raw, that Balor and McDonough would have to defend the tag team titles against the War Raiders. But I don't think we necessarily needed a triple threat match here, as Priest has had his chances and we thought that he was getting moved to the back of the line. So we have to give this a not okay. Up second, we just keep spinning the truth as CM Punk told Jackie Redmond in a pre-taped interview that he helped Seth Rollins train when he was new to the business, and even though Rollins accomplished many things while he was gone, the starter is now back, so Rollins needs to go back to the bench. So Rollins later came out into the middle of the ring saying that Punk just knows how to spin the truth and he is both a fraud and a con man. And also pointed out that the story didn't end there because after Punk left, he ghosted Rollins and everyone in WWE for the next 10 years. Now, I don't like to think about Roman Reigns if I don't have to think about Roman Reigns, but I do have to point out here, Seth, that you and Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose were all fighting against CM Punk in the several months leading up to Punk's departure from the company, so I think it is safe to say that he ghosted you because you just couldn't get enough of fighting him. But I digress, and so Rollins continued by saying that Punk only came back because he failed at everything else and that the money was right. But Sami Zayn interrupted Rollins and he apologized to Rollins for blaming him for attacking Jay last week, but said that Rollins was acting more like Drew McIntyre than himself. But speaking of McIntyre, Zayn also went up to Adam Pearce and got himself a match to be included on Saturday night's main event against McIntyre. So then when Sami left the ring, McIntyre, sure enough, was right there to attack him from the side and then ground and pound him until WWE officials came out to break it up, which of course will give McIntyre his 7th fine of the year. But in a pre-taped segment earlier in the night, McIntyre actually admitted to being the one to attack Jey Uso on last week's Monday Night Raw, which I have to admit he had a pretty good reason for doing so, which was because Jey, Jimmy, and Sami all decided to sell out to help out Roman Reigns for no reason whatsoever, which, yeah, we agree with you, Drew. That was a very good point, but you're still not allowed to attack Jey like that, so you are going to get your 14th suspension. And we had a lot going on here, a lot of intertwining parts, so we'll give this an okay. We also had Kathy Kelly attempting to interview The New Day about last week's 10-year anniversary celebration and what happened with Big E, but The New Day knew that Kathy wasn't going to be unbiased, so they just decided to grab the camera from the cameraman and go on out to the ring to address the situation themselves. And while they merely wanted to talk about it with the rest of the crowd just wouldn't let them do it, chanting "New Day sucks" and then booing them mercilessly until the New Day had no choice but to leave the ring without fully making their statement. But when you're in Wichita, Kansas, you can probably expect that they're all just stupid idiots and are going to hijack the show for themselves. So because we did not get to hear the New Day speak, this is getting a double not okay. And in a quick note, we saw the transfer portal in action as Adam Pearce had a meeting with Cody Rhodes, but when Rhodes left the office, he ran into the New Day and somehow had the gall to say that he was ashamed of what the New Day did last week, when of course it is Rhodes who should be ashamed of being a terrible friend for everything he's done with KO. So I wasn't gonna give it a grade, but now that I'm thinking about it some more, yeah, we have to give Cody Rhodes a double not okay for all of his continued actions. And we'll also note separately, we saw Adam Pearce talking to Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton, but we have no idea what they said. But if you missed the matches with Tiffany Stratton and Cody Rhodes on SmackDown last week and my grades for them, be sure to go right on over here to check that out. Because if you don't and you missed it, just like that show, that would be double not okay.